You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
I swear every Monday morning feels like a new record for just information overload.
Tell me about it.
We're living in this truly bizarre temporal split. We're talking about a mythical device that might come out 3 years from now, and at the same time, we're trying to integrate a foundational AI model that changes creative work, like this afternoon.
It is a genuine case of tech whiplash.
It really is.
And, that tension is pretty much the theme of what we've pulled together for you this week. We're trying to go beyond just the headlines and give you a kind of strategic map.
Right.
We have the usual speculation about future hardware, some clear data on how AI is fundamentally restructuring the creative market, and I think most importantly, we're looking at the facts that show where professional attention really needs to shift.
So we're not just, admiring the shiny features on the surface.
Precisely. We are moving toward the invisible dynamics, the strategic choices, the behavioral data, and those subtle shifts in user experience that really determine whether a product succeeds or fails out in the real world.
So if you're designing or building or funding anything today, the rules are changing, and understanding why is everything.
Exactly.
As we often discuss here on The Vocal Technologist, what's happening in hardware often dictates the future of software, and vice versa. So let's start with the future itself, specifically the Apple rumor mill.
Which is never not churning.
It's the engine that drives half of tech journalism, isn't it?
It really is.
So we have two really significant reports this week about devices that are still, years away. First, there's this special edition 20th anniversary iPhone.
Right.
Which we hear is currently slated for what, the fall of 2027? The supposed highlight is a truly bold design choice.
I saw this, a curved display that wraps all the way around.
Exactly, around the front and back edges, supposedly eliminating that traditional black frame entirely.
It sounds like pure, unfettered, industrial design ambition. And, while it sounds incredible on paper, that seamless glass structure, we have to remember that this kind of design approach, it has a history. Manufacturers like Samsung and Xiaomi have already experimented with dramatically curved or waterfall displays, and they consistently run into the same 3 headaches.
Headaches that drive users absolutely crazy. Let me guess. Accidental touches.
Number 1, it turns the edge of your screen into a nonstop chaos trigger.
And then major durability issues and the never-ending nightmare of trying to find a screen protector that actually works.
You've just hit on the core design tension here. Apple has a couple of years to solve common physics problems that others haven't, but the question is still there. Is the aesthetic flair of a truly borderless design worth the inevitable sacrifices in functionality?
And in durability. It's the ultimate form over function debate.
It really is, and it's playing out in their future roadmap.
And speaking of the play tech, we've got another report that shows even Apple can't always bend current manufacturing limits to its will.
Oh, the OLED iMac story.
Yeah, it's a classic example of ambition meeting technical reality.
It really is. We know Apple is keen to bring that high contrast, perfect black of OLED to the desktop. They're reportedly exploring this now for the 24-inch iMac.
Which would have, about 600 nits of brightness? A beautiful display.
For sure. But the real insight here isn't just the brightness, it's the restriction on the larger sizes, isn't it?
Exactly. Why can't they just scale that OLED technology up to the 32-inch monitors that all the pros are demanding?
And that's the display paradox. This project is at a very, very early stage RFI, I think, and the high-efficiency OLED tech Apple favors just doesn't scale easily or cost-effectively to those 30 to 32-inch displays.
So they're running into manufacturing and yield rate limitations.
Exactly. For the large format panels that are required for professional desktop use, it's a reminder that even when you are Apple, you're still bound by the laws of physics and the current limits of the fabrication plants.
Which is why we won't see this launch until maybe 2027 or 2028.
And it will likely start small.
Yeah. So the quest for a perfect product runs headlong into the fact that the factory floor still hasn't caught up. It's a great piece of context. Now let's shift from hardware ambition to user interface reality. We are actually seeing Apple admit defeat on some of its flashier design decisions.
I love this story because it's a perfect case study in design humility.
Right.
With the iOS 26.2 update, they're continuing the rollback of what they call liquid glass transparency, specifically on the lock screen clock.
And why?
Well, because users complained that the glassy dynamic UI, it just harmed basic readability.
It's the ultimate sign that design for function always, eventually, wins out over design for Flash. If the core job telling the time is harder because it looks cooler, then the design is failed.
No, exactly. It's a hard lesson for any design team. Sometimes your clever aesthetic decision creates an accessibility failure.
But the same update also gave us a fantastic new accessibility feature.
It did. The option to have the entire iPhone screen flash brightly for incoming alerts.
And you can pair it with the LED flash too, right?
You can. It's evolution in action. You fix the failure, and you introduce a truly valuable solution for a demographic like users who are hard of hearing that really needed it.
You know, that idea of evolution, not revolution, actually defines the most successful brand work lately. We spent years talking about these loud, controversial rebrands.
The ones that feel like the company is shouting at you to notice them.
And the ones that inevitably get mocked on Twitter the second they drop.
Right. But if you look at the successful brands, they're entering what you might call the brand tweak era. They focus on refining clarity and coherence.
Like Amazon, Walmart, Apple TV.
Exactly. They're not changing the core identity, they're just improving the system. The BMW logo refinement is a perfect, quiet case study of this.
Tell us more about that. I think most listeners, myself included, probably didn't even notice this change happening a year ago.
And that's the beauty of it. It was a subtle modernization that didn't shock anyone. They made the logo flatter, which is the trend, more minimal. And crucially, they removed the highly reflective chrome from the inner circle and the flag.
But they kept the matte black outer rim.
They kept the iconic matte black outer rim.
So they took a complicated glossy 3D object and moved it into the modern clean 2D space without losing an ounce of heritage. That's a masterclass in balance.
It is. It evolves the system without asking the audience to relearn the brand. Contrast that with the curved iPhone rumor, high risk, high reward. The brand tweak is low risk, guaranteed clarity.
That distinction between the slow, subtle evolution of a brand and the rapid, noisy revolution happening in the underlying tech is a perfect way to transition to our second major theme.
AI's immediate and transformative impact on the creative workflow.
And this revolution is definitely not quiet.
No, the numbers are deafening. Look at Adobe. They reported record annual revenue, $23.77 billion in 2025.
Which is an 11% year-over-year increase.
And they credit generative AI integration as the primary driver of that growth.
That tells you everything you need to know about the professional design community. They aren't scared of these tools. They are paying for them and integrating them aggressively into their workflows. So what specific capabilities are we seeing designers pay for right now?
Well, in video, the capabilities of Adobe Firefly have gone from like a novelty to a necessity. It now supports prompt-based video editing.
Okay, think about the time savings there.
Huge. Instead of having to render an entire clip from scratch because you need to change a specific color or, subtly tweak a camera angle, you can use a natural language prompt to surgically modify just that element.
So it's not just generating new starting material. It's acting as a hyper-efficient surgical assistant for post-production.
That's where the real monetization happens, in the time saved. And Adobe is also being really strategic about formats. They created a dedicated space in Premiere on iOS specifically for creating YouTube Shorts.
With templates and AI tools.
Yep, streamlining production for that highly demanding vertical video market. They are following the money and the attention span.
And in the static image space, we're seeing OpenAI's GPT Image 1.5 start to look like a true workhorse.
It's pushing the performance ceiling. It's now 4 times faster, and its API price has dropped by 20%. But the key technical leap is its ability to handle detail preservation during multi-step edits.
And critically, it's now capable of accurately rendering small, dense text.
Wait, rendering small text accurately, that has historically been the Achilles heel of generative imaging.
It has. But by cracking that, GPT Image 1.5 immediately becomes indispensable for creating professional quality infographics and detailed marketing materials quickly. It's no longer just a fun toy.
It's a tool for high-fidelity communication.
And if we look beyond generating content to generating worlds, Runway's GWM1 world model seems to be simulating reality itself.
It's an important evolutionary step. GWM1 is designed to simulate physics and real-world behavior through frame-by-frame prediction.
And they have specialized versions for robotics and avatars.
They do, but the ambition is to position it as a foundational general-purpose model. It's trying to learn the rules of our physical reality so that it can predict how any element, digital or physical, will behave next.
That concept modeling reality is bleeding into how non-coders interact with software, which brings us to this fantastic new term, vibe coding.
I love that term. It captures the essence of the Google and Replit partnership perfectly. By integrating Gemini models into Replit, you can now skip traditional syntax.
And have non-technical employees build applications using just plain natural language instructions.
Yeah. So someone from the marketing team or a product manager can simply describe the vibe and function of the internal tool they need. I need an app that takes the names from the spreadsheet and generates a reminder email, and the code is generated.
It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry.
Absolutely. It expands the pool of people who can create and deploy internal tools far beyond the traditional software developer. It's democratization driven by conversational AI.
And to wrap up this section, we have the ultimate strategic head-turner, Disney and OpenAI. This partnership signals a massive shift in how IP holders view this technology.
This is a monumental validation. I mean, Disney was previously one of the loudest companies pushing back, even litigating against some of these tools.
And now they've not only partnered with OpenAI, but invested $1 billion.
It's incredible.
What does that deal actually allow? Can I now generate a video of Spider-Man doing my laundry?
Within limits, yes. The deal allows Sora and ChatGPT images to generate content featuring over 200 Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars characters.
But there's a crucial carve-out.
There is. Talent likenesses and specific human voices are excluded, which protects the actors. But strategically, this says everything. The most protective IP holder in the world has determined that fighting this technology is less profitable than embracing it as a massive customer.
Using it to build the next generation of content.
Exactly.
That move alone tells you that the tools are ready for prime time. Now, that brings us to the most vital question for anyone building products today. How do you make decisions when the world is changing this rapidly?
And this is where we move from tactics to strategy. The core lesson here is, it's difficult for many product teams to swallow, but it's critical.
What is it?
You must stop exclusively asking users what they want.
That is heresy in the design world. We've been told since Design Thinking 101 to run surveys and interviews constantly.
And that's why many product teams build fragmented, often confusing experiences. The research is consistently showing that people's stated preferences rarely align with their actual behavior.
It's not because they're lying, right?
Not at all. It's due to inherent cognitive biases and limited self-awareness. They simply don't remember their pain points accurately, and they often can't articulate a novel solution.
So the reliance has to shift entirely to the data of what they do, not what they say they'll do.
Absolutely. You must anchor every decision in measurable outcomes. Use sophisticated analytics, usability testing, behavioral observation. A feature request from a user is not a command.
It's a signal of a problem.
It's a signal. You must treat it like a mystery, to investigate deeply, to find the root cause, which is usually not what the user asked for.
You know, that search for predictability and minimizing user friction, it ties directly into this concept of designing for intuition.
The free energy principle.
Right. Lay that out for us because it sounds very academic, but it explains why good UX just feels right.
Okay, so the free energy principle, in simple terms, describes the brain's constant effort to minimize surprise. It wants to minimize the mismatch between the predictions it makes about the world, its expectations, and the sensory input it actually receives.
So when I click a button, my brain predicts the screen will transition in a certain way, or a progress bar will appear.
Exactly. Good design, using things like clear feedback, consistent visual language, gestalt grouping, it reduces user uncertainty and stress because it makes the next step predictable.
Whereas a poorly labeled button or an ambiguous error message.
All of those cause the brain to register surprise, which we experience as stress, frustration, or confusion.
It's the brain screaming, I predicted X, and I got this confusing laggy Y.
Right. And designers must now use what we call abductive reasoning, forming hypotheses about the user's emotional context and expectations to design a system that constantly validates those predictions, reduce surprise, create a low-stress, intuitive experience.
This shift, where AI handles so much of the technical execution, it means the designer's value proposition is fundamentally changing.
The role is evolving so rapidly. If AI can now handle, say, 80 to 90% of the technical craft generating mockups, writing boilerplate code, then the critical value shifts entirely to the strategic last mile.
The designer stops being a pixel pusher and starts being an internal consultant.
That's it.
So if I'm a designer, where does my unique value lie now?
It lies in context and critical thinking. It means asking the insightful, often uncomfortable questions. It means spending time with support teams, reading customer tickets, and understanding the genuine user pain points that an AI can't see.
And then translating those observations into cost-saving business recommendations.
Exactly. If you only focus on technical design skills in the AI future, you become easily commoditized. You have to start thinking like a product manager, understanding business impact.
And that strategic shift means designers are moving from just crafting interfaces to shaping the ethical guardrails of the product itself.
That is the ultimate meta problem of the decade. As technology becomes pervasive, designers are suddenly responsible for inclusion, user autonomy, transparency, overall well-being.
And traditional UX methods, which focus on simple efficiency, they don't capture these deep user values.
They don't. So a designer, even subconsciously, might be imposing their own values, say maximizing screen time, because the framework they're using doesn't force them to surface these value trade-offs.
Which means we need explicit ethical frameworks built into the design system itself.
Precisely. To surface these trade-offs clearly, if the tools are powerful enough to influence human behavior on a massive scale, the conversation has to shift to how do we design for human values, not just clicks.
And that value needs to be codified from the start. This brings us to a very practical problem for every development team: the timing of design systems.
And the quest for perfectionism.
Right.
Perfectionism is the enemy of adoption. Teams spend months polishing components, trying to achieve 100% completeness, while the product teams, who can't wait, simply build their own components.
Which leads to instant fragmentation and defeats the entire purpose of having a system in the first place.
Exactly. Components gain adoption when they are shipped at about 80% completeness. Focus only on the non-negotiables: accessibility, semantic structure, token consistency.
And everything else improves through real-world use and iteration. Ship the essential, then perfect in the wild.
You got it.
That 80% rule is such a great practical heuristic. And since we're talking about components and consistency, what's the next immediate frontier for design systems, given that AI is now the primary user?
The creation of AI-readable design tokens. Current tokens often lack the necessary contextual information for AI tools to use them correctly. The AI sees color red 500, but it doesn't know if that's a primary brand color or a failure state alert color.
That lack of intent makes the AI guess, and guessing means inconsistency.
It does. To fix this, tokens need semantic naming that describes intent, clear written descriptions explaining usage, and explicit relationships showing how tokens connect to form patterns.
So you're providing the AI with a complete contextual map it needs to generate designs that are accurate and brand consistent.
You are essentially teaching the AI the rules of the house before letting it start renovating.
What a fantastic overview. We covered a huge spectrum today, from the theoretical curved iPhone of 2027 to the immediate strategic partnerships shaping AI content. And finally, how design needs to evolve into a strategic behavioral science discipline.
And the absolute key takeaway for you, our listener, is this: the best product and design decisions are no longer anchored in subjective, stated preferences from a survey. They have to be anchored in measurable, observed reality in the data that shows what people actually do.
That strategic clarity is the foundation for success.
It's everything.
And to leave you with one final thought to mull over, consider the concept of the new navigation paradigm. We talked about how AI delegates navigation and discovery to these invisible algorithmic agents in conversational interfaces. This creates something the Greeks called a pharmakon.
Which is simultaneously a remedy and a poison.
Right. The remedy is frictionless convenience, but the poison is that it removes the formative practice of searching and discovery.
It removes the valuable cognitive practice of effort.
So ask yourself this: as technology tries so hard to make every choice for you and tries to remove every moment of friction, how can design intentionally preserve your capacity for autonomous thinking and serendipity? Where do you, as a user or a designer, intentionally introduce friction to preserve your own capacity for genuine discovery? That's what we need to wrestle with next. We'll talk to you next time. Spoken Tech, for your ears.